right. Hello, everybody. Let's get started. So, hi and welcome, everybody, to this next edition of RIA's Cyber Meetup. We have an anniversary today. Not maybe today, as in, you know, this particular date today, but this is... it's 1 year since we started this whole thing. It's been we started last March with the cyber meetups, and we are going to continue until the end of time. So every month, and so just bear with us. This will happen whether you come here or not. But you know, anyways. So today we have very good and interesting speakers for you, and this is a truly international way of doing this whole thing. We have friends from Finland here for you, and the ambassador for cyber affairs and critical technology from Australia. Who's going to be discussing what do people see and what do people talk about in the land down under. I understand that's how it's called. But in the very end, we're going to give you a short overview of some of the things that we have been doing in cooperation with our partners at Cybernetica. So Henrik will give you an overview of a study that we commissioned and is out right now. But let's get started. I've asked 𝐏𝐸, a good friend of mine and a colleague from the Finnish NCSC, also another acronym you maybe need to know is the NCC. There's so many acronyms. Do not be afraid of them. They are your friends. 𝐏𝐸 will talk to you a little bit about what is the cyber threat landscape like right now in Finland and how you can find more information about it, but also about a couple of things that our colleagues at the Finnish NCSC are doing for community members such as you. And I think let's just get started. And 𝐏𝐸, come on up here. There's your microphone. No, it's fine.
Thank you, Lauri. Now you can hear me. So yeah, indeed. Great to be here. Thank you. I'm from Finland, as Lauri said, and it's great to have a very good reason to be here. I didn't do what us Finns are usually known for, coming here to buy alcohol, but I have to make jokes also. But yeah, indeed, I have a very good reason to be here. Thank you once again, my great colleague and friend Lauri, for the invitation. I'm going to, as per requested by Lauri, I'm going to first of all introduce you the organization I work for, which is the Finnish Cybersecurity Center. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the recent cyber landscape and the activities we see in Finland, and a little bit of a look forward. And one of the acronyms Lauri just mentioned, ECCC. I'm going to talk to you about this European-wide organization that both of our organizations are part of. So, yeah, and I was going to say that I work for the Finnish Cybersecurity Center, and my role is very much internationally oriented. I do a lot of our international cooperation. I'm part of the ECCC organization, and I also collaborate a lot with NECC. So I'm very happy to also extend our collaboration here in Estonia. You guys are very important partners for us. So let's get started with this horrible slide that has way too much text. This is the Finnish National Cybersecurity Center in a nutshell. So what we do is we support, guide, and supervise information security and the protection of privacy in electronic communications. So we are a national authority for that, both supervisory and in a guiding role as well. Very important role for us. I'm going to talk to you about a few of the services we have. One of the very important ones is the maintaining the national situational awareness about cybersecurity. We have multiple services for that, which are obviously free of charge and public, so all of you can have access to it as well. This is in fact mentioned twice here. We ensure contingency planning and preparedness for exceptional conditions in the communication sector, it says here specifically, but also in the entire society. So our approach, our, let's say, constituency is the entire society. We promote and monitor the reliability of electronic communications, and what's in fact not mentioned here is that, of course, we also have a CERT function, CERT, so we help organizations that are victims of cyber attacks. And also, we are a certifying authority. So basically anything that has data going through it, we certify it. So about a few of the services, I'm not going to talk to you about everything we offer because otherwise, as Lauri said, we would be here until the end of time. But a few of them, what I just learned today from our friends at RIA is that you do these exact same things. You have a weekly review, you have a monthly review. So yeah, we do the same thing. This is a screenshot from our website. Basically, this is a really kind of a finger on the pulse kind of thing, you know, just reporting how many attempts of phishing there's been and how many incidents of ransomware and so on and so forth. I don't put up all these slides with this much text intending you to read it all, but just as an example. Another one, which is our monthly report, but we call it the cyber weather. It's a bit more accumulating this information from the previous one that I just showed you. It's so this one allows you to have a bit of more like accumulating, and you see these trends a bit better. So basically, you can see on a monthly basis on a number of different topics. If it's sunny, things are going well. If it's rainy, you know, there's a bit of problems, and obviously the storm is that lots of things are going on. And also this is a screenshot from our website, so you can go and see this service for yourself. But it's not only that kind of weather forecast kind of thing. There's also this report saying, you know, for example, the denial of service attacks will continue and intensify, and we anticipate several critical vulnerabilities and so on. So this is a really good report. I encourage all of you to go and take a look if you're interested in what the cyber landscape in Finland looks like. Then I have one more service I'm going to talk to you about is a cyber meter, or kybermittari in Finnish. This is a tool for organizations to measure and analyze their strengths and weaknesses in preparing for their cyber resilience and preparing for attacks. So it's a self-assessment tool available online that asks you a series of multiple choice questions, based on which it gives you recommendations on what you're doing well and what you need to focus on more in the future. Also, this one, as I said, is available on our website, so you can just, if you can't write all this Finnish cryptic language, you can just Google cyber weather Finland, cyber meter Finland, so that will give you the results. And yeah, this is also an excerpt from the report. This is basically what it gives you much more than this, but for example, this that you can see visualized asset management, threats and vulnerabilities, risks, access management, so on and so forth. So based on a number of different metrics, you can evaluate your organization's preparedness. All right, that's the first part of my presentation. Bit of an introduction to the Finnish Cybersecurity Center. The next one, I promise to give you a very brief overview of the Finnish cybersecurity landscape. You shouldn't be expecting anything, too surprising or drastic. I think what we're facing in Finland is probably exactly the same things that you're seeing here as well. So, as in a lot of Europe, for obvious reasons, the threat level has been elevated for a couple of years and remains to be that way. For Finland, particularly important event happened not too long ago is our NATO membership, which obviously affects the work of the cyber authorities as well. We've seen an increased amount of ransomware, targeted phishing, malicious traffic, both towards the government authorities as well as critical infrastructure of the private economy. But as said here, in Finland we like to say that we have a bit of culture of preparedness and resilience, so we've been able to handle these attacks really well, and they have not been able to disrupt these critical functions of our society. And the next point here says deficiencies in conventional prevention measures continue to cause the majority of security incidents, which is unfortunate, but that's a fact. That's how things go. You could prevent so many of the cyber incidents and information leaks just basically changing your default password to something, harder to break or something like this. Sometimes this would be easy, but sometimes we make life easy for hackers or cyber criminals. And yes, perhaps it's not such an interesting thing for you, but for me as the representative of the Finnish Cyber Authority, for us it's a big deal that we're currently rewriting the Finnish cyber strategy, which will be published later on this year. So that also might give you a better outlook on how things in Finland are going to look in the future in terms of cyber. And yes, Lauri and I have been mentioning the European Cybersecurity Competence Center, or the ECCC, a few times now. So it's a newly established European organization which has let's say a satellite, or however you want to call it, in each member state. Lauri represents that here in Estonia, and I represent it in Finland. So yes, we have been operational for a little bit over a year now in Finland, and I think you guys are basically almost at the same time as us, right? And yes, just looking ahead, a few trends. Again, probably nothing very unexpected here. We expect the threat level to remain elevated. Second, we have a whole lot of new regulation coming in. The NIS2 directive, the Cyber Resilience Act, the Cyber Solidarity Act. All of this, of course, is something that we as authorities and our companies need to adapt to and prepare for, and it takes time and resources and money. But it's something we have to do. Third, cybersecurity is dependent on experts. We do have a bit of a skill shortage. I think, again, I'm not only talking about Finland. I think I can say with confidence that this is what many countries are facing at the moment. So we are trying to find ways how to increase the cyber skills in the entire society. and not just educate new cyber experts, but make cybersecurity everyone's business. So be it individual citizen or be it organization, anyone who works at any organization should have better cyber skills. And yes, fourth, the security and continuity of supply and service chains are increasingly critical, yet facing increasingly more cyber attacks. So significant investments are required to protect them from that. And I've been talking about required investments in a previous few points many times, but what makes it difficult for us is the fifth point is that Finland, as again many other countries too, are facing economic downturns. So at the same time, you would need to find the money, how to invest it, but at the same time deal with slowly growing economy and a lot of government debt. And finally, which is something looking maybe a bit more ahead, is that a lot of organizations also need to learn how to deal with new types of cyber threats that are arising from emerging technologies such as AI. You know, scams with deep fakes or bot attacks or you name it. Fine. I'm happy to talk about these things in more detail with you after all these presentations, and again, you can find more details if you're interested in our reports. So as to the final part of my presentation, as I just said, we have the European Cybersecurity Competence Center, which is established in 2022, and then we have these national coordination centers, or NCCs, in each country. So just briefly going to explain to you what we do. So we develop national cybersecurity coordination and R&D. We support our national communities in increasing their capabilities in R&D, for example, by funding, directly funding them, or putting them together with our European-wide networks so that they can more easily find partners and more easily get funding from the EU and so forth. So all of us, we have our national community, all of the NCCs, we have our national communities, which we try to make collaborate much more together. And in fact, as an example, the next speakers are going to be from Finland also, and there are also a network of companies in the Nordic countries and very important partners for us, the North European Cybersecurity Cluster. So just as an example of what we kind of try to do as NCCs as well. So we can also participate in European funding calls ourselves, or we can encourage and help our national partners in applying for funding from the EU, which, as you know, there's lots of funding for research and development available from the EU. So this is one of our very, very key tasks to help all of you in that. And well, I mentioned direct funding already, so that's what this last point means. FSTP is financial support for third parties. Last slide, I promise I'm not going to talk anymore for long. So yeah, how can we help you? Well, I just basically said it. Well, I don't know what this slide is here, repeating everything. So, indeed, the takeaway here is we're a large network of NCCs in all countries, and we have a lot of resources to help you in participating in European cross-border collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, good. So thank thank you. Just stay here for a second. The acronyms, the national coordination centers, and how to, what it is, what it does. Just to give you an example, what it does this. This sort of an event is part of like the mission of the Estonian National Coordination Center, how we try to get all these community members together and get other member states people up on stage and like talk to you about what everything is, what's going on in Finland, and maybe invite you to a event where we talk about European funding, all the stuff that we do at RIA as well. So that's another example of how we do these things. All right, before we let Aleksi go, we can take one question from the audience right now, and then you can ask him questions later on as well. Sorry, there was one, sorry. Yeah. Let's go over there. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. Just a question regarding my name is Jürgen from Cybers, but a question regarding the cyber meter or the assessment thing. This is based on some sort of best practices. And the second part of the question is that do you have any statistics on the people or organizations who have filled it out?
Yes, so it is based on best practices. Unfortunately, since I'm not the one who who put it all together and who's administering the tool, I can't tell you very much in detail. But I know that it's based on the C2M2 criteria or standard. So you can look it up on the online, and yeah, this is basically an evaluation method that's applied in similar tools elsewhere as well.
But the question also is, do you get like an overview of some of the companies and stuff that people who filled it out of
yes.
What's going to happen?
Yes, thanks for the clarification. So yes, we do. It's of course voluntary for the companies if they want to share the data with us. So they don't have to do it, and if they do, it's anonymous. But yes, we do get the data, and based on that, we can of course see by sector which companies are more prepared and who are not. So yes, but it's voluntary, and but a lot of the customers choose to do it because it also of course helps us to help more people.
All right, thank you very much. You'll get the question later on after we're done with the presentations. One more time for Aleksi. All right. Right. We do have more Finns with us today, and I would like to introduce you to our next speaker, the North European Cybersecurity Cluster. Here's a microphone here, and the clicker. This is a cluster of organizations who will invite you and tell you about themselves, what sort of activities are available and possible for you to actually participate in if you are part of a cybersecurity company in Estonia as well, right?
And also the government, research institutes, whatever. Thank you, Lauri. It's really great to see that big audience here tonight, and it was nice to hear this idea of a cyber night. Something new what we should copy in Finland as well, and rest of the Nordics, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the North European cluster. So how many of you represent government? Hands up. Keep your hands up. How many of you are representing research? All keep hands up. Earlier ones, government, hands up. Then research, hands up. And then the private companies. Is there some people who don't belong any of those categories? So what category you belong? Are you representing users or? Okay, but then you're part of the government. So NECC represents all of us. So that's what we're all about. The cybersecurity, everything related to that belongs together. Nobody can solve these problems alone. Nobody can solve it on the country level. It's really collaboration. And I'm more or less, I could call myself here that I'm an information security relic. Meaning that I have been so long already on that area and working on this area, but still imagine that the cybersecurity term is just hardly more than 10 years old. We were living information security times in beginning of this millennium. And we were talking to RIA, we were working with X-Road, many of those things, and they little by little start up in some new cybersecurity companies here. And we also started this industry, information security industry growing in Finland. And suddenly, 2010, we were one of the biggest cybersecurity, today call it cybersecurity countries, but it was information security countries in 2010 in Finland. We were probably 5th or 6th biggest information security country in the whole Europe. We had a lot of lively industries, a lot of lively ideas, and so on. And then, top of that, we created first information security cluster in Europe, 2012, called FISC. Finnish Information Security Cluster, which is nowadays called Cybersecurity Cluster or whatever. Anyway, all of this area, this industry changed the names. But that's how old is cybersecurity clusters in Europe. It's only 12 years. So, top of that, everybody wanted to have a cybersecurity cluster after that in Nordics and in the European level. And then we were advising them. I was helping here in Estonia to get 𝐴𝐸𝐴 up. And there was a lot of work, and ICT clusters were representing with this Nordic level Estonia with us. And finally, we got that 𝐴𝐸𝐴 up. And then a couple of years later, they disappeared. And we really thought that the cybersecurity industry in Estonia is dead. But you are proving for me it's otherwise. So give your hands for yourself. That we have a really lively industry here. And that's what we have in the Nordics. And that's what we have also, hopefully, in European level. But we have certain problems. Our cybersecurity companies are focused on very much for the services. We don't produce the solutions, products. Like in Americans, Chinese, whatever, Israelis, they are maturing this industry. In Finland, we had a lot of promising companies, and imagine, all of them are sold out. They're non-European, non-Finnish companies anymore. They're owned by Americans, they're owned by Israelis, whatever. We have hardly product companies anymore left in Finland. And same applies all around Europe. And that's what we also do here in NECC. We try to encourage the industry, research, and government work together, become stronger, creating new ideas, new companies. And I think that with these times, when our brothers are in eastern border creating us in a lot of trouble with the security areas, hell, we need this cybersecurity a lot, and we need collaborating, all of us together. Otherwise, we couldn't really live with these challenges what we are facing up. So all of these things belong to the NECC. And we had these cybersecurity clusters created in 5 Nordic countries. It was Estonia, Danish, Finnish, Latvians, and Lithuanians in that time. And we met in Jyväskylä 2015, and we agreed that we are going to create a cluster where we are joining together. And little by little, this was growing, and now we have 9 countries, all the Nordic countries, all the Baltic countries, and Germans with us. We also are collaborating with the Polish. So there's also a lot of newborn cybersecurity clusters and industries growing fast in Poland. So it's a good area also to collaborate. So what we try to do, we try to combine together our all efforts and become as a big country together. Combining these Nordic efforts together, then we are meaningful for... Okay. I'm getting undressed, seems like it. Sorry about that. Thank you, Lauri. Anyway, the collaboration with all of these levels is most important area what we try to create in NECC. It's collaboration. Then also we're representing European Cybersecurity Organization, 𝐏𝐸CO. How many of you know 𝐏𝐸CO? I'm one of the founders of 𝐏𝐸CO as well. And I'm one of the left board members out of the two who are still board member of 𝐏𝐸CO since 2016. Estonians were a very active role when we were creating 𝐏𝐸CO at that time. And now 𝐏𝐸CO is growing very fast, and it won in European Union funded community building structure, which we are relating to this Alex's presentation and this national CCC networks, which is now coordinated in Romania and their headquarters. And NECC is ambassador in the north representing that program on behalf of 𝐏𝐸CO. So with our main issue is getting as much contacts, as much as people interested of cybersecurity working together and getting into these networks and have active communities. Then we have also some extension because cybersecurity is not the area or industry what we can just manage nowadays separately. It's always related widely for digitalization, and we have in the focus area in IoT, 5G, and some other artificial technologies, also quantum computing. So whatever is relating on those areas, they are somehow hooked into our interest of the NECC as well. So we try to get also some interesting things going on in there. And then what we do is we try to organize the physical events. We were planning to have a ProBridge Industrial Days in 23rd and 24th in April in Finland, but we failed. Anyway, let's blame the Finnish professional unions, which make the long strike, and we cannot have a traveling to Finland. All gasoline distribution is now seized in Finland because of these strikes which are going and many hassles. So that's one of the maybe excuse why we couldn't have it. But it's going to be 10th and 11th of September. Write it down that to your calendars. And that is going to be first time that we are going to create also ProBridge event to developing in EU calls together jointly in this Nordic level. So we invite all the research institutes, all the governmental representatives who can collaborate and contribute on that work, as well as for industry itself. So let's try to win EU funding for the North as much as possible. So far, the majority of that funding is going to Spain, Italy, France in Europe, especially in cybersecurity area. Germans are getting a little bit, but we do not get much in the north. You guys here in Estonia, a few of your companies has been successful for that, and that has been in great story, but most of the Nordic countries have received almost nothing. So let's change that history in September. So come to Finland and change that history with us together. And then one of the areas is that we know that if we are looking at world-class things, I think that in many other countries outside of Europe is doing in new startups and with new technologies very great stories. What we do well here in Europe is legislation. That's what we are good at. So what the heck? We have to follow it. We have to read it carefully, we have to learn it, and we have to predict it, and we have to work together to change it. And I think we cannot do it by ourselves. Not one country, not one industrial company, not one governmental agency, not one research institute. That's a damn work what we have to work together, changing that more flexible to support the industry. Not only to support end users or the individuals, like what we are protecting very well here in the EU. We also need to nurture the industry to grow and to become more competitive, getting more funding, doing a lot of those things. And that's what we try to aim here in the NECC. So together we have more power. So these are the organizations which are representing NECC together with us. We have nearly 800, nowadays probably 900 organizations which we can reach out throughout our local clusters. So we represent it with the local clusters, but we also accept the companies to be members also in the NECC. We used to have a lot of large companies in the beginning there, But in the basically, we focused that we collaborated with the local clusters, and most likely now we are opening in a stream that we start to take impact to the companies also as a members, and also the research institutes as a directly members, so we can be more effective. But we are going to work with these national CCCs closely, and that's why we are very good friends with Aleksi and very good friends with the Traficom, and also same applies to all the Nordic other countries. We are also good friends in Sweden, hopefully in the future also here in the RIA, and also our local cluster, 𝐁𝐵 in Denmark, is coordinating the functions on behalf of the day NCC programs. So we are very well hooked also on that program with the NECC, that what is happening in the national level, and we have a good connections to also working together with EXO and working with the Europeans in rest of the Europe. So that's what we all about in NECC. And then there's a certain focus areas we try to keep in our working agenda. So it's always the business opportunities. That's what we always need. Networks and collaboration, developing in some new options to do exporting outside of the Europe. That's always need to keep in our mind. Absolutely, we collaborate inside of the EU and so on. And then maybe have some new research innovations. We actually made some applications for EU funding already. We collaborated already some of the programs in the past. And we seek together also to some Nordic funding opportunities, which is from the private equities, or it can be also governmental funding. And all type of joint projects, they're welcome. And what we most need is your creative thinking. Let's share our creative thinking, and we are accepting good ideas and working together forward and getting those things happening. So let's make the cybersecurity our joint agenda. Let's win the European level markets together, and let's build great networks together. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Again, let's get one question from the audience. I see one very tall hand from back there. Just give me a second. Please introduce yourself.
Hillar. My name is Hillar Arlaid. Very simple question. How are you going to beat those Italians?
How are you going to beat those Italians?
How are we going to beat the Italians? Nicely. We always better. We are more creative together, and when we pull our strengths together, we will beat them. If we don't work together, we're going to lose them.
All right. Thank you very much. One more time. You can just put it right there. You can talk to him afterwards as well, but we are going to continue now. Thank you. And we're going to continue with a new format that we've never seen before, and it's the format is called, I think it's called fireside chat. I'm not sure if it's exactly that, because we don't really have a fire, but or a fireplace, but we'll have to make sure we kind of imagine it. So, anyways. I'm going to ask Brendan Dowling from Australian Cyber Affairs to come up here. We're going to put some chairs up on the stage, give us a second, and then give you a microphone first. There you go. It's a fireside chat, right? Looks, yeah. This is a fireside chat. So we're going to sit down. People in the back who, if you can't see us, then you can stand up, or stand on a chair or something like that if you really don't want to. But we're going to have a discussion now. And when I heard that Ambassador Dowling was visiting us, then I immediately tried to reach out and find out whether you would be willing to come and share a little bit about Australia with us as well. And so for these initial remarks and questions here, what I'm trying to, just ask you first is that Australia really seems like so far away from us, that nothing that you do down there kind of like maybe applies to us. And you have a whole different kind of geopolitical thing going on down on the other side of the planet. The question is, what is it that you see is important right now in the context of your country and cybersecurity?
Thank you, and thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure to be joined by my friend Ambassador Sepp here tonight. I think for me, the real lesson from coming to Estonia is, in fact, the similarities in the challenges that we're facing. We're both medium-sized countries. Australia's a little bigger than Estonia, but we're both but we both, I think, are very energised about cybersecurity and energised about the risks that we're seeing. In this part of the world, you're seeing major cyber threats emanating from a country very close to you. In our part of the world, we're also concerned about nation-state activity. We do see cybercrime really prevalently affecting Australia, and it's Russian cyber criminal groups that are targeting Australia like they're targeting your country, like they're targeting this part of Europe. That's a big problem for Australia, and it's also a big problem for countries in our region. For nation states, we are as concerned about the same countries that you are. We have recently talked about China's targeting of critical infrastructure, its use of pre-positioning techniques to create the potential for disruptive impacts on critical infrastructure. We have named the Russian state and some of its malware operations as having affected Australia. Iran is a problem. The DPRK, North Korea, is a big focus for us as well. We look at the way that North Korea is funding its nuclear program by the theft of cryptocurrency, and that creates an extraordinary risk for destabilisation in our region. When I look at Estonia, we have a lot of admiration for the way that your country has brought together all tools of the nation, from government to private sector, to make cybersecurity a priority. That's the same journey that we have been on. In our ambition, as we've publicly stated, is to be a world-leading cybersecurity nation by 2030. Similar to you, I think we don't think this is going to happen naturally. We don't think that people are just going to wake up one day and decide that cybersecurity is important. It's something that government needs to drive. It's something that industry needs to lead. We have implemented legislative reforms to require our critical infrastructure operators to mitigate the cybersecurity risks that they face. We're implementing mandatory reporting obligations. We're asking our telecommunications authorities to do more to block threats before they reach the end user. We're trying to drive an uplift in security of IoT devices. So I look at us on the other side of the world and see that, in fact, we have the same mentality towards these issues. We have the same sense of urgency about the risks that we're both facing, and we have the same sense of the importance of public-private collaboration to drive urgent uplift, because the threat environment is getting worse and will get worse for the next few years. So this is not something we can be relaxed or complacent about. It's something that we need to work on together. And international collaboration, whether you're Australia or Estonia or any country in this part of the world, is the only way to come at these threats.
All right, thank you for this this introduction into the context where we're at. So I'm gonna ask a couple of follow-up questions, then I'm gonna open it up to the audience as well for a bit. But the nation states that you mentioned, which are seriously affecting not only the Australia in general, but also the companies that are operating there. Yes, we obviously are very worried about our neighbor to the east here, but the other three that you mentioned, China, the DPRK, and Iran, sort of feel so far away from us, and every news item that we sort of see or understand about them tends to not register as much. Do these three countries, or the cybersecurity threat actors from these countries, do you see the implications of their actions in Australia on a day-to-day basis in a similar manner that we may be perceiving the threat from Russia?
I think the immediacy of the Russia threat is different. I think you're living this now. We've seen in Ukraine some of the scenarios that we imagined as the worst case scenarios, the combination of kinetic military activity combined with the use of cyber targeting of civilian infrastructure. I think what we're witnessing over here is the scenarios that we've all been most concerned about. And so for us, that's not necessarily the day-to-day reality of our cyber environment, but it is something we're looking to learn from. I think the potential in our region for cyber activities to be combined with military activities, for the grey zone activities you've seen in Estonia, for the way it's been applied in Ukraine, I think we would be naive if we don't think those types of techniques could play out in our region. The advantage we have is to watch and learn from what is happening over here and start to build the preparedness. We look at the way that Ukraine used external data hosting to have the resilience and continuity of their government. There's a really big lesson for us to learn in our region. How can we ensure the resilience of our data, our systems, in the event of that type of situation? And it's not just about conflicts, it's also about natural disasters. We live in a region which is prone to natural disasters. The Pacific island nations are constantly under threat from cyclones, tsunamis, and other such issues. Understanding how countries can build the resilience of their nations by engaging in public-private partnerships to store data elsewhere. That's an important lesson for us. I think we have seen the way that Russia has targeted civilian infrastructure. We've been very clear that we consider that unacceptable behaviour in cyberspace. It's an opportunity for us all as a global community to underscore that the use of state-based cyber capabilities against civilian infrastructure with a major cost on civilians is in breach of existing international law. It is in breach of the accepted norms for responsible state behaviour. That is an example that resonates in our region, that we need to keep reinforcing those boundaries lest we see that type of scenario play out in the Indo-Pacific.
Right. The international norms here, of course, obviously there's been an attempt to also put together like new international laws which are also, just only directed towards cyber issues. For example, for example, a cyber attack would have a lesser or a bigger of impact in international relations. Where do you, as the in international law, what do you see there? The big conflict is between, for example, the countries that are more in tune with each other, so kind of like to say that like-minded countries, compared to some of the ones who really are taking advantage of a lack of international regulations, such as China or Russia, who do not want to, be accountable for either hosting some criminal activities or so on. What do you think is the big, discussion point right now in terms of should there be a special cyber law all across the world, kind of like the one that was banning nuclear weapons or something like that? Should there be something specific there?
Our view is that existing international law provides for most of the issues that we're talking about. There is no doubt that cyber criminal activity, the imposing of a ransom on a hospital or a healthcare centre, this is a breach of criminal law. It's a breach of all international norms. We don't see a need for additional laws. We see a need for enforcement of our existing laws. That's the attitude we've taken with cybercrime. We've called on any nation that harbours cyber criminals to actually take seriously that this is a crime. So I don't think any country can really legitimately say that there is any doubt about cybercrime activity, an attack against a civilian school, healthcare centre, hospital. This is clearly in breach of existing laws. So we think we need to enforce those. When it comes to state-backed activity, again, we think this is a relatively defined area of international law. The use of cyber means to interfere in another country's democratic processes goes against the well-established principle of non-interference, which has been in international law for decades. The use of cyber means to disrupt civilian infrastructure in a way that's equivalent to dropping a bomb or firing a shell. This is also established international law that this is unacceptable and not allowed. So our argument in many of these international forums is to say there should be no doubt where there are breaches of international law. We know what they are, we see them happening, we see them being traversed. What's important is that we call it out. What's important is that we issue statements and say, we know what's happening. When we can establish and reach a threshold for attribution, we know who's behind it, and it is unacceptable. So I think the view of the like-minded group of nations is that we have sufficient boundaries that have been set by international law. The important thing is recognising them, calling it out. There are, this is an area that is evolving. The use of different technologies is evolving, but I think we can always come back to the core existing principles and have accountability for the frameworks, rather than spending years and years debating about the sort of merits of new establishing any new sort of legal frameworks.
To our audience for questions, let me just try to get a sense of what you see, either on behalf of Australia or you as an expert here as well. So the main question, you also heard, what are some of the incidents or some of the threat landscape that people are talking about over here. You've gone to RIA, you've seen our worries and our hopes. What is it that keeps you up at night in terms of either from future trends perspective or like current trends perspective? What is the worst thing in the world?
I think we are all concerned at how vulnerable our infrastructure is. I think the potential for a cyber attack that resonates through our nations, for example, hitting the payment system that shuts down the way our economy functions on a day-to-day basis, an attack against the grid that resonates through all aspects of our daily lives. I think those are still the things that most worry us. For me, an attack against a major government system is a real risk. I think we all know that. I actually think Estonia is very well positioned in terms of your government cybersecurity. I think for many nations like ours, we know we have some way to go. But for me, it always comes back to the basics. And when we look at cybersecurity, and I think this audience knows it very well, but we often worry about future theoretical risks. We worry about AI-enabled cyber attacks. Meanwhile, most of the cyber attacks happening in the world today are taking advantage of known vulnerabilities, known exploits, basic failures of cybersecurity. So sometimes we can get too focused on kind of sophisticated, complicated future scenarios. Meanwhile, we're still not addressing some of the basic flaws that we see in the systems that we use every day. I've been quite impressed in Estonia that security by design in some of your digital government services seems to have been a really early thought. It's something that was prioritised in this country very well. When I look at our region, we're still seeing many countries making the choice between affordable technology and secure technology. I think it's a choice that's difficult for the developing world because they're looking to ensure that their people get access to digital technologies. But at the moment, there are many compromises being made so that software and hardware that is not secure by design is widely used in the region. That creates a myriad of risks, but a good lesson for me is that you can make another choice. You can say, we will prioritise security at the heart of our government systems, at the heart of the way we operate our digital services. And I think that's a big lesson for me that I think you've done that quite well over here.
All right, ears are moving is what we say in Estonia. That when somebody says good things about you, it's like your ears are moving. All right. So let's find some questions from the audience as well. Is there anybody who wants to ask a question? All right. So yes, there is one. Thank you.
Not a very technical question, but Australia is a long way away, like Lauri said. Which way is it? Were you invited, or you were curious to see how Estonia is doing? So why are you here?
Both. I think I was in Prague earlier this week for their cybersecurity conference, which began its life as the 5G security conference. I do want to momentarily mention how important that work has been, and this is a good demonstration of how close we are in these issues, even though we're geographically wide apart. In 2018, Australia was one of the first countries to exclude high-risk vendors from our 5G network. We made the decision that if a vendor was operating from a country where there was a risk of interference by that government, the risks of having them build our 5G network were too great. At that time, not many countries had taken that decision. There was a cost to Australia in terms of our relationships, but it prioritised security and sovereignty. The Czech Republic made a similar decision not long after, which was a really important act of solidarity for us. So my primary reason to be in this part of the world this week was to go to Prague and participate in that conference. But I was recently spending good time with my friend Tanel in New York at some of the multilateral United Nations discussions around international cyber law and norms. And I said to him, it would be nice if someone would invite me to Estonia because I'm very interested in your approach here. And he very kindly obliged because we actually pay a lot of attention to Estonia in Australia. We see your digital service delivery, we see the security that you've prioritised, and we see that you operate in a very live threat environment. So it's a long way away, but we are attentive, and I was very keen to see that for myself today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for talking to us. This has been our fireside chat. Feel free to engage with Ambassador Dowling a little bit later on as well. But yeah, give a big hand.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. And last but not least, let's really quickly give a short overview of one more item that I wish all of you would pay attention to. We just recently came out with something that Henrik will tell you about, and actually you already did hear about this in December, but you know, go ahead.
1, 2, 1, 2. Hello from my side as well. I'm really happy to greet everyone. My name is Hendrik and I'm working for the Estonian Information System Authority. And hopefully, most of you know that RIA has been cooking something on the backstage with our fellow colleagues from Cybernetica. And of course, that something is the study made by Cybernetica with a focus on risks of AI and machine learning technology and how to mitigate those risks. The focus on that study is mainly on the industry, or specifically the industry companies who are willing, or at the moment are already implementing AI and machine learning technology in their infrastructure. Basically, this study is pure, like 111 pages of pure excitement. Not only academic, but also practical excitement. There are AI models up to guidance and risk analysis over there. And if you don't like to read 111 pages, then you have to wait for a couple of months, because in July or in August, in the middle of there, we will also have AI and machine learning educational videos coming up that are based on the study. If you don't like to wait for those videos, you can also scan this code and go back directly to December, where in the middle of December, in the exact same spot, there was a handsome, smart person named Dan Bogdanov who was presenting that same study and his thoughts about that. Dear English-speaking friends, unfortunately, this study is not available in English at the moment. Hopefully, in the nearer months, we will have it also in English, and then we will notify you directly. For example, through the CyberMeetUp list. So, the Estonian-speaking friends, scan this code and enjoy the study. For those English-speaking friends, scan this code, have the Estonian study, and use ChatGPT. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. And just as a side note there about this AI study, this may be an important time for you, our private sector friends, to take this study and you know, take a look at maybe there is something in that study that you could you know, go and assist or sell your services to our industrial sector partners, manufacturing partners who are you know, in in the process of integrating AI and machine learning into their production systems, that maybe they don't have this, mindset of maybe we should, pay attention to cybersecurity, but you do. So you can take these ideas and go to these companies and be like, hey, how about I, hook you up with some of these cybersecurity measures, and then they will, pick up on that. Right. Wait.
A few slides. If you have one more, back. Yeah. If you have any additional questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Write some exciting emails. Thank you.
Please write some exciting emails. That's. I think your emails will find him well. But this is it for our Cyber Meetup program for tonight. Feel free to stay a while. There are some drinks left, but we actually maybe have underestimated. Oh, there's some sweet stuff as well. Right, everybody who's been watching us online, thank you for joining us, and have fun. You will not be able to get some drinks from us, but go to your fridge, and you can totally do that. For everybody else, feel free to mingle. All right, bye.